Hey y'all, welcome back to the internet. Here, this is Design 264 with Avery. Here is another tutorial. Today, right now, we're doing pencil and pen tools in Illustrator. So there are more tools than this within some of the drop downs you'll see, but these are the ones that we're going to focus on, and I'll go into some of them. They each have a bunch of different options and neat things with them. So let's start with the pencil tool. We are going to hit N on the keyboard is the shortcut for the pencil tool. It actually will look like this in the toolbar. That is the shaper tool, which we'll look at in a second. But the pencil tool, if you click and hold, it's right there. So N is the shortcut. By default, usually it'll look something like that with the pencil tool. So you have a stroke that's 1 point, that's black, and then this light gray fill. It might even be the case that you don't even see a fill or a stroke when you create the shape. So before I go into other details, let's go double click on that pencil tool. So double click on it in the toolbar, and you have options. The fidelity option, this slider bar between accurate and smooth. Accurate will like catch the little jitters of your hand as you're moving your mouse around or moving your finger on your trackpad. And smooth, it will take that shape, that jiggly shape, and start to smooth things out. It's pretty self-explanatory. You definitely want to have new pencil strokes selected, and keep selected is kind of nice, just so that when you want to manipulate right after you do your drawing. And then these settings, the close path within 15 pixels, and edit selected paths within 6 pixels. That is helpful for, well, this one is for closing the shape, and we want closed shapes. Always in Illustrator, we want closed shapes. So I'll show you what that looks like with the pencil tool. So I click, still holding down, and just start to drag around my shape. And then when I approach where I started, I get this circle. You see the asterisk right there turns into a circle next to the icon of my pencil, and that indicates that the shape will close itself. And this is a closed shape where all of the anchor points are connected with paths, and it is, all the way around. So that is great. If we didn't want that shape, that first pencil shape that we drew, to have that light gray fill, we can change that here and then change the stroke here. So now when we do a shape, boop, it'll be that. Real quick, let me show you what, so that was pretty smooth. Let me show you what accurate looks like. So it still smoothed it out some, right? It's not exactly the shape that I drew, or the sort of preview shape with this thin red line, but it does, the fidelity of my jiggly hand is maintained much more than if it were set to smooth. So click and erase that. So that's pretty much the pencil tool. Like I said, double click here and you can play with these options. And I think really, again, the biggest thing is to make sure you close the shape. I'll show you what you can do when you don't do that, but that's really great. And you can see what happens also with the shape tool. When you slow down, more anchor points are added. So go really fast and then slow down and then end it. And look at all those anchor points that are in that area. So that's what happens when it's set to smooth versus accurate. So click and drag with my selection tool and hit delete. So the next tool that we're going to look at is the shaper tool. Really quickly, the shaper tool is under the option. It's the one that was showing up. Oh, got some there. It is this sort of, it looks like maybe a pencil next to a circle, and this one is predicting the shape that you want, the basic polygon that you want based off of what you draw with your trackpad, mouse, or stylus. So yeah, click here. So it interpreted that as a hexagon. Let's see, circle, right? Do you see what's going on? Square, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hexagon. Didn't quite get my octagon. So this isn't perfect, but maybe you'll find this useful for just quickly creating compositions. If you really want to work with like perfect ellipses as opposed to some like jittery shapes that you make with the pencil. These, I think by default, and I'm not exactly sure how you change that setting, it looks like they have this light gray fill and the black stroke that you can change certainly. So I hit the selection tool, you can change certainly after the fact here, change any of these things, but I'm not sure how you set it by default for starting to make the shape. So we can look into that later. I'm just going to set this to black and null. Okay, so the next tool, which is a really dope tool, is the pen tool. And notice that I have this control command down here and then the alt option. So I'll show you what happens when you select those with the pen tool. When you click and hold those with the pen tool as well. Doop. Okay, so the pen tool is P, is the shortcut, and it is right here. And you see you have these options down here. You can actually access all of those with these hotkeys. So pen is right there, is P. The plus is the add anchor tool, minus. These aren't as necessary, you'll see why. And then the anchor point tool is Shift C, but I'll show you another way to get to it as well. So there are a bunch of different things you can do with the pen tool. It'll totally be your best friend. But one of them is just make shapes. So I click and then I extend my cursor out. I'm not holding it down. And you can see I have this a line indicator showing how this line that I'm going to create. Click again, and I'm starting to make my shape. So you can do geometric polygons this way by just clicking, not clicking and dragging, just clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking, and then to create a closed shape, once again return back to where you started. And in this case, see, same thing, it turns to a circle. So y'all see that, right? You see right there. Yeah. And then you have a closed polygon, and that is the shape that, closed shapes are what you want in Illustrator. It's just easy to edit. It's professional to have that, and it's the right thing to do. Okay. So pen tool again. If you click and drag, a different thing happens. So click, drag, and these are my Bezier handles coming out. So you'll see what happens now. Instead of a straight path coming out, I have a curved path. So this is really a fun thing to do. So click and drag, come back to the original, and I have this closed shape. Ooh, that is delicious. While I have this sort of selected, I'll show you what happens. So those are the Bezier curves. I'll just show you the things that happens when you hit Alt while you have your pen tool selected, and when you hit Control. So Alt is also Option on the Mac keyboard and Control Command. So Alt Option turns into this handle selection. So that is over here, the anchor point tool. And then Control comes to the direct selection tool. So let's start with Control, which is Command. Command Control allows you to hover over an anchor point and just move that around. So remember, I'm still in my pen tool, I still have my pen tool selected, but I can go to just by hitting Command or Control, can go to the direct selection tool. So I can just, with the pen tool, start to manipulate my shape even more. Then the other tool that is key code, hotkey shortcut within the pen tool is hitting Alt or Option, and I hover over an anchor point. You have to hover over an anchor point to activate this tool, the anchor point tool. And you see I have this V. I go over it and I can re-establish a new handles in new settings for my Bezier curve, which is the curve that's embedded in that anchor point, the math that's embedded in that anchor point. Really cool. The other thing I can do with that, when I have the handles showing when my anchor point is selected, I'm going to click Control or Command again, and I can hover over, and the smart guides are telling me I have a handle selected. So I can click that handle and rotate that around. You can see I can shrink it separately from the other handle, even though it seesaws with that handle. If I hold Shift, let's see, no, yeah, okay, that's that. Nothing with Shift with that one. But if you hold Control or Command, that's how you get that. Let's go back. So again, that's with hitting Alt or Option to zoom out and try again with your handles. If I hold Alt or Option over just a handle, then I get this new, it doesn't seesaw anymore like it did with the direct selection tool. So now I can articulate my shapes, articulate my, how lines expand, come out of the anchor points with more control. So that is when a handle is showing. So if I hit Control Command, hit an anchor point, it reveals the two handles. With the handle showing, I hit Alt or Option, hover over the handle, the tip of the handle, and I can move it around that way. Really cool, right? Really, really cool. The other thing with a pen tool, which is super versatile, right, is you, with it selected, so I just have P, it's just a pen tool. If you hover over a path, it allows you to add an anchor point. So you see how the asterisk in the indicator shifts to a plus sign. So click, and you have a new anchor. And it will automatically add the Bezier, these handles that are, you're not going to shift or affect or adjust or disrupt the curve that was there. It will, you see it maintains the same look. You're just adding anchor points. So then if you hit Control or Command, you can move things in. The other thing I forgot to mention with Alt or Option, if you don't click and drag, but you just click, you remove the handles. They sort of suck back into the anchor, and you get this sharp point, right? So again, Alt or Option, and just click on an anchor point, and you get a sharp point, and the handles disappear. They suck back into the anchor. The other thing you can do with the pen tool selected is hover over an anchor point and remove anchor points. So you can see it shifts from asterisk to the negative sign, minus, and removes anchor points. And then I can add an anchor point or remove that anchor point. I think that's it for now, y'all. So that is the pencil tool, the shaper tool, and the pen tool. And if you want to go in there, you can look at some of these other things like the smooth tool, which you have to have the shape selected. But when you have the smooth tool, you can smooth things out, right? It's already pretty smooth. Honestly, I don't really mess with this too much, but you can see, have a sense of what it does, and moving some of those anchor points around and adjusting the handles just so subtly so they're nice, clean curves. Path eraser tool, yeah, we'd have to play with this more, but I don't honestly think this is something that's helpful for us. And I will show you though, we did this in one of our exercises, but the eraser tool straight up is Shift E, and that's right here in the toolbar, the eraser tool. And when you have, I'm going to hit V for my selection tool. So you have to have your shape selected, hit E, and then I can erase. Right now I have two separate shapes. If I hit the close bracket on the keyboard, it makes it bigger. The open bracket makes it smaller. So then you can start to add some interiority to your shape, cutting away at it, or just clicking, like that. So that is it for this. We should just end. It should just be over now.